Hey YouTube universe, thank you for stopping by here at Comic Rema. This is going to be a contest entry video for Norman Maslov, which is Mazzy. His channel is Norman Maslov. He is a Bino community member. He is a man who is just full of knowledge and wisdom of music, and he's just a great guy who's as far as I can see, he's been really honest and great friend that I've been able to come across in the Bino community. So he puts out like a video almost like every day. So he has tons and tons of content. He has a vast variety of music and a vast variety of musical knowledge. I believe he did work at some record stores, I believe, and in the music industry. So he has a big wealth of knowledge of music and of many albums. He's a Beatles fan and lover. So just a great guy. So one of the series that he does on his Vinyl Community channel is whack-a-mole videos, where he chooses 5 random records from his collection. So for his 50th whack-a-mole video, he decided to go ahead and throw a contest and just put it out there for everybody out there who wants to go ahead and jump on board. So the rules were pretty basic. Pick 5 random records from your collection in whack-a-mole style. And as you can see in this background, if you follow this channel, I'm in a different location in my home today because I will be doing a whack-a-mole for this video for my CD collection. I just thought that would be something different to experiment with. I have been having a lot of issues with my memory, so I thought this would be a really good motivation and practice for my memory as well. So Mazzy, thank you for having this contest. I'm going to try to do my best in this video. As you can see in my back here is a small CD collection that I have gathered in a few years. I do have a bunch of CDs in storage. Before moving here, I moved twice, and before moving to this location, I went through a kind of like a weird phase where I was kind of just purging and just giving away a lot of my CDs. So there's lots of stuff that I don't have anymore that I am slowly kind of collecting again. A lot of stuff that's not on vinyl, or stuff that's available on vinyl, but it's very expensive. So in my back here, I have a bunch of stuff that I've kind of just put on here because I did want to listen to a lot of the music that I had on CD, and sometimes it's just hard to put on a record with the baby, so it's just easier to kind of put on a CD. As well, there's a lot of stuff that I had collected which I never got around to hearing, so that's another reason why I went ahead and took some of my CDs from storage and put them here. However, it's this really small shelf. I do have another tower of CDs which is usually here, but I've moved that because those are my jazz CDs. And there's another little cubby which is in another location that I usually film at. So I'm not going to be using those. I'm going to be using these because these are more random, the stuff that I've kind of just put around and haven't really organized in a great manner. I know for sure the top ones are some of the stuff that I just have just received or have acquired. This top shelf here is I know it's gospel and Christian worship CDs. So maybe I'll pick one out of that top file. And I know the last bottom shelf is overfull of jazz CDs, so I'll try to stick to maybe just 4 shelves from the middle, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully you guys will be able to be exposed to some new music, or maybe be surprised over the stuff that I have in my collection. So let's go ahead and get started. I've blabbered a lot already, so I'm gonna go ahead and look at the camera, close my eyes, and just pick 5 random CDs and put them on here. So just want to thank you guys for stopping by and watching this video. So let's get started, and here we go. I'm gonna choose the first one. So that's 1. This is 2. Okay, looks like I have 3 and 4, and let's go 1 more. Okay, so we have 5. So I picked out, I believe, which is 5 CDs from my collection, and here they are. Let's see what the first one is. Oh, Social Distortion. This is Mommy's Little Monster. Might be familiar with their logo. That's the back. Great band. Punk, an essential punk band. This has The Creeps, Another State of Mind, It Wasn't Pretty Picture, Telling Them, Hours of Darkness, Mommy's Little Monster, Anti-Fashion, All the Answers, and Moral Threat. This came out in '82. The cover shows kind of like a skull with a child in the front watching the TV, which is pretty interesting. The only song that I can remember from this record is Mommy's Little Monster. I am more familiar with their other records. On the top of my mind, this is I know, a great album, but the only song that sticks out is Mommy's Little Monster, which is the title track from this album. Mike Ness is a interesting character. I've seen them live maybe 2 times. The first time, I believe, might have seen them in the Warped Tour. I'm not 100% sure, but I know I saw them at the Wiltern here in Los Angeles. They perform with Tiger Army, opened up the show for them, and Social Distortion came up afterwards. The Social Distortion was a band that, if you like punk, you just knew, a couple of their major hit songs, and for one being the Life song. What's it called? What is that name of the song? Story of My Life. So Story of My Life was an essential punk rock song, key of D, 3 chords, that pretty much everyone knew. So if you really enjoyed punk rock music and playing punk rock music, that's one of the songs that you definitely had to know if you wanted to cover it. I know we played it a lot when I was younger, when me and my brother had a band. I remember one of the guitarists that we had in our band, he was a major Social D fan. I did have a college friend who had a guitar signed by Mike Ness, so that was pretty cool. Let's go on to the next CD, and okay, this is Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited. Here's the back, And here's a Columbia 2i with Bob Dylan here. To be honest, this has not been an album which I've listened to a lot. This has like a Rolling Stone, so I'm gonna say that's probably one of the songs that I really love about from this album. And some of these do not ring a bell. However, Highway 61 Revisited, the last time I talked to anybody about this record was at my friend's home, which they had recently acquired, and they had a gathering that year. And he had a couple of records in his living room, and he had we talked about this record that he had just received this record as a gift for his birthday from his wife. So that's the last time I've ever spoken to anybody about this record, and that was a good 6 years ago. So, if not more, 6 years. Let's move on to the next one. Let's see what we have here. We have a great album. This is Thrice, The Alchemy Index. So this was an interesting concept album. I'm gonna go ahead and take it out the sleeve. Thrice is a band from Orange County, here in California, and they've had a interesting career where they've played for, I would say, maybe 10-13 years. Then they kind of took a break, and then they kind of went on a hiatus. And then the singer, Dustin Kensrue, actually became a worship pastor, moved to Seattle, I believe, Washington, and became one of the worship pastors for the church, Mars Hill, the Mars Hill Church. Not familiar with Mars Hill Church. They've kind of disbanded in the last 3 years, I believe. There was some issues with leadership. Anyway, long story short, kind of a lot of the churches, there was one main church, which a lot of other churches were connected to that main church. So when kind of like the main church, which he was a part of, kind of went separate ways, the other churches kind of became independent churches. And at that time, he moved back to LA, I believe, and he always was always making music. So he, after Thrice, kind of went on a hiatus and took a pause from playing together. He actually released about like 3 records. He released a Christmas album. He released one acoustic folk rock record, and then another one, another record which had some covers in it, from famous pop songs. Anyways, but this came out in the 2000s, 2007. This was a concept album. This is volume 1 and volume 2. There is a volume 3 and volume 4. So it was kind of like a 4 CD album that came out. And it's the Alchemy Index. Very, very beautiful, orchestrated music with Dustin Kensrue. He mostly writes the lyrics. He's probably one of the most very well-read musicians that I know. So I encourage you to check him out and his band Thrice. This is a great album. Let me see which songs are on here. On volume 2, Digital Sea. Oh, what an amazing song. it was every song on here, but Digital C is kind of like the standout, really great album. So Volume 1, Volume 2. Volume 1 is Fire, Volume 2 is Water, and then the other one are the other elements. Um, great album. I can't remember what the full story and the conception that was for the album, but this is one video that's one album that's great. All right, so we have Seventh Day Slumber. This was a great album that I listened to on repeat. This came out in 2005, so around that time I was listening to a lot of Christian records at the time. So between the time frame that I was out of high school to maybe I was maybe 24, maybe 23, I was not living a holy life. I was not at a good place spiritually, maybe emotionally, at some level mentally. I was not in a good place. It was around 2005 that kind of my life went a full circle, and I came back to Christ and to the church, and kind of, gave my life back to God, and was found something that I desperately needed in my heart. So during that time, I was listening to bands that had a Christian message, bands that kind of had that musical expression of rock, of stuff that I was used to, but just with different content in their lyrics. And Seventh Day Slumber was one of those bands that I listened to a lot of bands, and I can say many of them were okay. Some of them, I listened to their album once and never listened to them again. But Seventh Day Slumber was one of those bands that will remain on my CD shelves or record shelves. The lead singer on one of the albums that I heard, if it's not their first album, might be their second one, had great lyrics. And in one of the albums at the end, he kind of gives his testimony and his his testimony on drugs. Sorry guys, I ran out of memory on my phone. Anyways, like I was saying, the lead singer, what's his testimony, how he came out of drugs. This was a great album. Once Upon a Shattered Life. That's the title of this. Every song on here is beautiful. Haven't heard any new stuff from them. The last album I heard from them was, I believe, was a cover album. They released an album with a bunch of cover songs, worship songs from the church that are more a little rock touch from their style. The next one is Delirious. This is the album World Service. This is from 2003, way back. This has great songs. The first 4 songs on here, Grace Like a River, Rain Down, God in Heaven, and number 4, which is probably one of their most famous songs, called Majesty. Here I Am, or Here I Am, no Majesty. Beautiful song. Delirious, can't go wrong with any Delirious album. These guys were ahead of their game with Christian music, experimental, pushing boundaries. They remind me a lot of kind of like a U2 type of band, um, but great quality music. This is not my favorite album from them. Um, my favorite album from them is Kingdom Comfort. It's a white cover album. That album, every song on here is beautiful. This one, I mean, if you listen to this album now, it does feel a little bit outdated, but still some really strong, heartfelt songs on here. And that's the last one that I have on here. I've never seen them live. Would love to at some point. Martin Smith is the lead singer and major songwriter for that song and for that album and that band, basically. So this video has gone pretty long. I'm probably at the 20-minute mark by now. I just want to thank you guys for stopping by and watching this video. And Mazzy, thank you so much for having this contest. Looking forward to more videos in 2020. I want to wish everyone out there the best of the best for this year. Hope you're in peace with yourself, in peace with others, and may God bless you in everything you do and everything you set out to do in this new year. I'll see you on the next one, guys.